Okay, Chris Paine. Thank you so much for coming on In the Nod.
Absolutely. Really nice glasses you've got here.
They are really nice glasses. Yeah. First, I want to just start off by saying congratulations. I heard you got married.
Yes.
Yes. You obviously like love.
Yes.
You feel good about love. Do you have a perspective, an opinion, a feeling about love?
Wow. That's where we start this interview.
That's where I want to start.
Well, I've always think of sort of love as gravity, and it's what gravity holds the universe together, and love holds people together.
I think that's an amazing answer, actually. You know, I wanted to start there because I talked to this actually really well-known writer, philosopher, consciousness thought leader, somebody who's like very well respected and published. And we were having an extended interview. We were like 50 minutes into the interview, and I felt like the natural progression of the conversation was love. And I said, so, I mean, what do you think about love? Nothing. I was stunned. And so when people get married for a lot of reasons, but I would think one of those reasons is you still trust love.
Yeah. I mean, marriage is different than love, of course. And I'm really interested in like fate and free will. And there's so many things as you get older, especially you realize that you can't control with free will. And you thought you could mold the universe, but really the universe has its own thing going. And the big ones that we hear about in human society is like when you're born, when you die, and those things you don't have any control over. But this old ritual called marriage, and our wedding, we called our wedding the mystical ritual, is one of those few things that humans actually do control, like who we choose as a partner. And I was 63 when I got married. So it's not like I was rushing to get married, because in my generation, a lot of my parents' friends were divorced. A lot of our contemporary friends were divorced. So there's a lot of fear around it. And I didn't want to jump into something that was going to like pull back on self-expression until I found really the perfect partner and the perfect time in my life. And of course, love is all inside.
Wow, that's incredible. So this is your first marriage?
Yeah.
Wow, this is amazing. Congratulations then, truly.
That's right.
Okay. All right, let's jump in then, because I want to talk to you about a lot of things. I want to talk about the environment. I want to talk about art. I want to talk about the electrical vehicle. I want to talk about AI. I want to talk about Black Rock Arts Foundation and Burning Man. I just want to get into everything. So where I think a great place would start is, you're a filmmaker and a social innovator. And from my perspective of your work, you have a lot of strong values. And I'm just wondering what fuels you.
Well, food and sleep are the majorly important. Water, love, as you were saying, connection. I think like when I was in college, anger was like a big energy thing, because in those days we were super upset about the nuclear buildup that was going on in those years, and I went out to a lot of protests and we got arrested and we were mad at the man and thought that we could maybe shift things. And but I saw that a lot of my friends that ran on anger, would just kind of get into a cul-de-sac. So I thought, I want to jump. I don't need that to be the big thing. It's good. Anger can be powerful, but to find out like what's going to like leap you forward. So that's a lot of other things too. And I think that's kind of a cool thing about being human, is you have all these different things. You just want to use the right tool, and you can.
When you
But to answer your question, I think passion to like keep the earth habitable for mankind has always been a big one.
Right.
And my parents were a part of that, because they were 1970s parents, and for them, like rolling back poisons in our water and the toxins in the air, and also overdevelopment, too much housing. So I got a lot of really good parenting, I think, and that bled over into my life.
Well, that was where I was going next. I mean, to me, it seems self-evident around why someone should care, why someone should care about the environment. But when you talk about sort of anger and being fueled initially by anger, that to me, what seems to be behind that is care. And then I think, I don't know, my mind just is like, why? I mean, it's self-evident, but you tell me why. Why do you care?
Well, I like being alive.
Yeah.
Earth's such an amazing experiment. And so it'd really be dumb for our species just to put it out of commission. We know that life's pretty exceptional and that we don't really understand beyond even our solar system. So why not keep this as viable a place? And to do that, we have to stop being so dumb about how we use what's been provided to us.
Yeah. Before we got rolling here, you and I were talking upstairs, and we sort of started to land on talks about interstellar intelligence and extraterrestrials. And do you feel that that is an important part of contextualizing Earth?
Well, I'm more of an Apollo kid.
Okay.
So when I grew up, there was landing on the moon, and what a spectacular engineering achievement that was. And those amazing first photographs of Earth, of course, Earthrise from the backside of the moon that Mike Collins and all those guys, Frank Borman, those amazing pictures. And you began to realize, like, that everybody on Earth realized, wow, we are an exceptional place. So that's probably more that than a sort of conception of insight about what really runs the universe, which is way more complicated than I think our primate minds can understand.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think?
I would agree with that. I mean, I thought we would go here, but we're going here a lot faster than that. Just that, this is kind of the work that you do. I actually feel like we actually have a lot of, to me, my perspective on your work is we have a lot of overlap of values, because I actually really care about life as well. I'm like, what fuels you? The enjoyment of the experience of being alive. And I would say very similarly, I feel that I come from a yogic background, and the yogic texts say it takes 8.4 million lifetimes to get a human incarnation. So you might live, you might get another life, but we don't know when. And so many people take taking this as truth, you take 8.4 million lifetimes to get a human body, and then what? You live in misery, or you live in pain, or you get poisoned. You live, a poisoned life. You live a life of abuse, or you have to live in a landscape that should be a paradise, but is now a dystopic future. No, I don't think so. I'll fight for that. I'll fight for myself, and I'll fight for others to experience the exquisite moment of life. So,
it's remarkable how many challenges sentience has, too. It's not like we've been given a free ride here. We have been given a free ride because we didn't make our bodies, or
right.
We're living in a miracle that's not ours. But the miracle is not without struggle, and some people struggle, no matter what their circumstances, can be pretty profound. It's difficult to really wrap your head around all of that with any kind of simple explanation, except that it takes a certain level of work, I think.
Yeah, this is where, I'm really fascinated by your lived practice of free will and identity and experience and things of this nature. But when it comes down to explaining things, I think there's I don't want to always go back to yoga, but I think this is where it's been a functional practice where you are using your body as an experiential instrument to sort of, get inside the Tao that can be named as not the eternal Tao. So like now we're just using our bodies to go far out and seeing whatever we can cognize. And, more and more I meditate on the law of karma, I think it might be real. The law of cause and effect.
Yeah.
But I mean, when it comes to the environment, I mean, I'd love for you to talk about you're working on another documentary right now around batteries, and that ties into Who Killed the Electric Vehicle, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so yeah, I think being a teacher is a great place to be. And that's how I see my role as a filmmaker. And the best teachers are somewhat entertaining, so you want to people stick around your class. And I had the opportunity when I was, high school or something. I had a great uncle that had an electric car from 1905. And I didn't even know they existed. And it was at a family reunion on the East Coast, and I got to drive it. So when 1998 rolled around and they were introducing electric cars again, not just the ones from the old days, which were DC motor and lead acid batteries, but a whole new technology, I thought, I want to be first in line for this. This is going to be great. So I eventually got a car, I leased a car. And of course, from our film, Who Killed the Electric Car, the experience of being an owner of this car, I was like, this is the 21st century, and it's not even 2000 yet. We were still in the 90s. So when that all got taken away, and like we outlined what happened in the film, I felt angry. There was some energy for that. Angry that General Motors, but also the other car companies were all realized that electric vehicles threatened their business model, which was dealers, oil changes. There's 500 parts in a gas car or something huge, and very few in an electric car. Electric car is like buying a dryer. It's a very simple thing. It's very few parts compared. So this blew up their business model, and they realized that it was not going to be a thing. So they backwatered on it and thought, well, this is going to be a great topic for a TV series or a TV show, but we couldn't get anybody to cover it. So we made our own film. And that was very unexpected when we had as much attention as we got for that film. I think people were upset about GM buying Hummer, and this. I'm going on too long?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I rewatched the movie last night, and I was surprised to be reminded. So I was somewhat young when these things were going on, and but I do remember there being electric vehicles. First of all, I did not remember that there were electrical vehicles in 1905, which I think is a stunning revelation to anybody, that this is not just new tech. This is not necessarily new technology. It's over 100, the newer ways, but it's existed for over 100 years. Then I remember all the Hummers coming on the road and it being a whole thing. And
they're sort of resource intensive and they're not efficient at all.
Yeah.
And electric vehicles allow you to reuse braking power into your battery. There's a lot of built-in efficiency for it. But I think the bigger argument, if you just take a capitalist point of view, is that nobody had the option to buy electric cars. It wasn't like one technology has to be the winner.
Right.
It's you can't even have it. And that was too bad, especially as an environmentalist. You could see how it could work out and what the collateral damages of fossil fuels, especially heavy vehicles, is so huge. So there's a natural. And so we got to tell a story about that, and we did. And fast forward to today, we made another film about, in the middle of this, 15 years ago, about electric cars coming back. And now we're doing one about about the battery.
Because Tesla Motors and so forth.
Tesla's the second one.
Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah. And so now you're doing one about the battery. And I had this thought during the film as well, because, the film is not new. So, it has its time. 2006, yeah. So, but I just had this thought about, is you were looking you'd built it sort of as a murder mystery, who killed the electric vehicle, and there's a whole funeral and everything, and there's guilty parties, and I just had this question about one thing someone said was, it's a David versus Goliath story, but if enough Davids get together, they can win. But I believe it was inspiring to me. I want to believe it. I had this question about, as the globalized economy and as globalization is old news, but still we're moving more and more into a space there. In the movie, they're talking about, we want to reduce our dependence on foreign oil, but can we really do that? You have President-elect Donald Trump saying things about China, and then you have these rumblings of like China preparing some kind of invasion, and these are all just paranoias and things of that nature. But I feel like global economy, the political economy, it's such a different game.
Well, fear is always part of the equation. And now there seems like a lot of reasons people are fearful, and I certainly have a lot of fears about the future. But you want to take your victories when you can get them. And the electric car, at least in this story, was really actually a victory, because enough Davids did get together and say, we're going to fight for this technology. This should be an option. I'm not saying it's perfect. Really, if everybody rode bicycles and walked more and there was better public transit, we don't need to have a car at all.
Totally.
But at least within cars, let's try to get them cleaner. And look, here we are. I mean, electric cars, especially here in California, but they're really all over the world. China, it's been a big success, except people wonder about the batteries. So I think it's always smart, if you want to pay attention to your audience, what's really going on, you say, okay, well, let's look at that question. What is going on with the batteries? And so that's how we've sort of arrived at this place. And in terms of fear, it's look at your fears, but try not to be dominated by them. That's what's always been helpful for me. And that's where sleep comes in.
That's where sleep comes in.
I always get a little less afraid when I wake up in the morning.
I'm super fascinated by your relationship, or I don't know if you would describe it like this, but by your relationship to the earth and living as a human. And I don't know. Do you feel that you have a relationship with the planet?
I think we all do. Do I think personally? Yes, of course, I do.
Well, I don't know that many people are like, yeah, I just want to like walk and ride a bike and.
You mean like do environmental things as opposed to feeling like connected to them?
Yeah, well, maybe we should take this into the conversation around Black Rock Arts Foundation and the beginnings of Burning Man, and okay. Where did this sort of like thrust and impulse come from?
There's a good example of the earth not being very hospitable to human beings. It's the Black Rock Desert. It's like the last place you'd want to have your village. Like there are Native Americans that were in that area, but they were closer to the lake, Pyramid Lake, and other places that had fresh water.
Got it.
Burning Man, they put in the when they moved the festival there in the 1990s. It was remote, which they really wanted, but you'd have to bring everything in, water, everything in.
Right.
And so it was a great place for artists and people that wanted to experiment with alternative communities to come in. Mm-hmm. And my first year was 1998, and I didn't want to go for years because I'd been hearing about it early on. I thought, I don't want to go to the desert. I don't really like the desert that much.
Yeah.
And it turned me around on the desert and on this idea that a festival can be a place to really expand who you are and how you think about things.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Black Rock Arts Foundation, which came out of Burning Man for a while. It's now back as part of the organization. But the idea there was, how about we take some of the art from Burning Man and take it into cities, because not everybody can afford to go out to the middle of the desert for a week.
Yeah.
And I think that's, whenever you have something that's really moves you, it's important to carry the message forward, not as an evangelist, but as an example. So
yeah.
This worked for me, and I think Black Rock Arts Foundation really did that.
Right. They took the art out of Burning Man and brought it into the cities, and San Francisco specifically, but in places or in other cities as well, where people could experience it.
Yeah, because Burning Man founded, they didn't fund DJs and music like most festivals do, which is a great thing to do, but Burning Man's take was, we're just going to finance artists. And so you ended up with these large-scale artworks that could go to a city later and inspire people over a great amount of time rather than just like a one performance piece of music.
Yeah.
That's what I think made Burning Man kind of the mothership of modern festivals.
Yeah. And then what was your relationship around sort of building the culture of Burning Man?
You mean like making friends?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
Well, make friends and then bring things to Burning Man. So, for the first few years I went, we did theater. So we pretended to have a Burning Man travel agency and all kinds of silly stuff, life insurance. And then when we could get some capital together, we'd bring camps together. We had big camps that people could come and experience something. And right now, let's see, I guess it'll be my 26th year or something coming up. And I found that one of the secrets to festivals is you want to kind of change your crowd every few years, just to change yourself.
Well, that was a question I had sort of around the original crowd and the original concept and how that's changed.
Well, everybody, myself included, likes to hold on to things that we understand or thrive in. It's difficult to deal with change. That's why the electric car, a lot of people went, I don't want to give up my classic 66 Mustang, which I had, by the way. I didn't. I love it, the way it looks. I didn't like electric cars the way they looked. I liked my look and my feel and how I understood things. And I think that we have to challenge ourselves on that a little bit. Otherwise, we get stuck in some ruts that might not be good for ourselves. And Burning Man or any festival is the same way. If you experience it the same way every time, you might be missing some chance to have an epiphany.
Yeah. Did you know that Scarborough Fair was founded in 1253 and ended in 1788?
I did not. I would lose that question on Jeopardy for sure.
Do you realize? Can you imagine a festival going on for close to 500 years?
I thought it was a line from a song in 1968 or something.
Well, we all thought that. I mean, Simon and Garfunkel certainly made the narrative of Scarborough Fair available to people, but no, it was an actual fair where it was like a Silk Road kind of fair where people came from the Ottoman Empire to sell things.
Well, that's what I think those festivals were trading events. And it's so hard to get around, unlike today where mobility is so easy. You would get people coming in. And those fairs usually lasted for months, something like that.
Yes, this is true. Yes, because it took you so long to get there. I mean, you're not going to just turn around, get on your donkey and get out of here. Yeah.
I mean, a festival's another idea for a community, right? That's not necessarily like we're all going to be here. It's more of a gypsy idea.
The festival as a kind of community versus, what were you saying?
Well, I mean, as opposed to where we live every day. So
right.
And there's so many people that are living kind of gypsy lives that can afford to. Now.
Yes.
And some people just go from festival to festival.
Right.
They're always on the road, which is very attractive.
Yeah.
Especially at a certain time in your life.
Right. Do you have maybe you don't have an opinion about this, about just nomadic lifestyle and what feels most natural to humans?
I have an opinion on everything, probably. I like nomadic lifestyle.
Yeah.
Especially, I was very late to settle down myself. And I think nomadic lifestyle is particularly appealing when you're younger and you want to meet more people and see how the world works in different ways.
Yeah.
As you get older, it's maybe I want to settle down and be with my people more and build a community and your family. It's hard to travel when we have a youngster in the house, and if I was a 25-year-old dad, I might put him in the backpack and go to India. But as an older dad, I'm not going to do that. I like having a house and a school where I know the teachers. And so I think nomadic lifestyle has a lot to do with where you are in your life journey.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about this. I don't remember why, but I was thinking about this last night, which was sort of just the nature of human beings walking and wandering, and actually that being a very natural way to exist as opposed to what feels like sort of the rigid structure of multinational lines and, where's your pasaporte and...
Yeah. There's a moment, I was lucky enough to go to college. I had this moment I'm really tired of following the script. Yeah. And my college was a very good college, but it was a lot of people were following the same script. And I said, I feel like I've been hurt by the script too much so far. And I'm going to try to start writing my own script. This is when free will was in charge of my brain.
Okay, so do you think you've had a past life?
Oh, this is a jump. I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
If it was millions of lifetimes, I hope it was a bacteria with a very short lifetime so I could get through a lot of them fast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a good story about that one. Yeah. I mean, I guess we sort of talked about it a little bit, but just sort of this legacy of human gathering. Is this important to you?
I was thinking about gathering yesterday because I was on a Zoom call. I'm like, are we gathering on this Zoom call? And we all had this feeling during COVID. It's like, are we gathering? It's like, yeah, you are kind of gathering. It is a gather. But you miss all the body language stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard. I think it's harder to have digital community than it is in-person community.
Yeah.
And one reason festivals are successful is that you pull people out of their zone and you put them all in, like, oh, I have to bring my own toothbrush and all that stuff, and you get a bigger connection. Just like disasters, like an earthquake or a fire, suddenly you're working with your neighbors.
Right.
Even Taylor's neighbor over here, you can be good friends with them.
Even that guy over there. Well, this is actually a perfect segue into AI and technology and, how technology might help us to have a more connected future in terms of humans and humans to earth and humans to plants. And also, I mean, there's no statistics of the amount of people who fear a technocratic future. What they do have is they say like 53% of people in the US are concerned about the role of AI in the future creation. And I think, it's hard to say where there's a majority anymore since we have decentralized media, but certainly there's a good portion of, there's a good loud voice out there that's talking about fear around the technocratic future. And so I just wondered if you could speak to your perspective on this.
Well, I think it's smart to be afraid of technology.
Okay.
Because I once got to interview Gordon Moore, who had helped develop the silicon chip with Intel. And Gordon said, sometimes I feel like every technology advance creates a new set of problems that a new technology has to solve. And so you get in this
fascinating,
right?
Yeah.
And even with the car thing, it's like, oh, well, great. We're less fossil fuels, especially if you're using solar power and wind instead of natural gas to make your electricity. But what about the battery? And,
right. Yeah.
Like, we know the fossil fuels, but what about this battery? You have like lead and cobalt and all these problems with it. It's like, so it's great that people ask those questions because they've learned from the past that technology does not solve all problems.
Right.
It creates a new set of problems. And the question is are the advantages, and can we get ahead of the fears? We made a film about AI about 8 years ago, and I'm relatively, I wouldn't say bullish. I'm more optimistic about AI than the way we laid it out in our film. Mm-hmm. But we wanted, because it was early on the AI question, to look at what could go wrong.
Yeah.
And lots. I mean, even driving here today, I drove past 5 robot cars. That's what our son calls the Waymos. It's amazing.
Got it. Yeah.
Like robot cars everywhere. Well, they're amazing if you don't want to have a driver and, you're a lovely person and it's late at night. You'd rather have a robot pick you up than a strange driver. So there's a huge advantage to this. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, what about all our friends that have gig economy jobs? And so this is just like, it's good to look at the negative, but there's a lot of positive too.
Right. No, I didn't. Yeah. I mean, I actually hadn't thought about that when you're want to get picked up late at night and you're not sure who's coming. You can just deal with the driverless vehicle, but then there is that sort of that missing human element, which I feel like you get in New York City, or you had got at a certain era in New York City, where it's gritty. There's taxi drivers, there's people, there's engagement, which,
I totally agree. Like there are drivers from Nigeria,
right?
And you can talk about Lagos or something, and I like the human element too.
Yeah.
Have you noticed on those Uber apps, they go, I talk less or
yes,
talk more?
Yes.
And I don't know, if I was a driver, I'd feel so insulted by the talk less. All right.
I don't know. I think it's nice to know if somebody wants to talk or not. It's like, great, they don't want conversation.
Right, yeah.
Just,
That's the point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, you don't feel pressured to have to keep the conversation. Yeah, keep the conversation going. So do you, do you trust this computer? I was actually very curious about it, just in terms of why you thought that was an important film to make. And then also, what in terms of technology and just sort of like the greener world.
Yeah. Well, the AI film came out of, I'm a lucky person. I get access to smart people, and I could see that this AI was coming on really strong, and I wanted to do a project about it, mostly to learn for myself and hopefully educate others or whatever I got to learn along the way.
Yeah.
And it was, at times, it created a lot of fear for me about it, because the fears, and talk about sentience, and, a lot of the more abstract things we didn't even get to in the film, because it becomes sci-fi almost.
Wow. Fascinating.
For example.
Okay.
Are we out of time?
No.
Good? Okay.
Yeah, I
Can
know.
I go down this rabbit hole?
Please. I would love you to. I know you have somewhere to be, but yeah, let's go.
I'm right here.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
See, this is the problem with wedding rings. They're always banging on things.
Yeah. So
this is a little bit ethereal, but carbon and silicon are very close on the periodic table.
Sure.
Elements, right?
Okay. Great.
And so carbon's very good. Humans, animals, mammals, it's jump-starting new ideas, species, and so forth. Silicon, not so much. Silicon's really good at resisting radiation, and it's very indestructible.
Oh my God, my head's going a million places right now.
Okay, good. Well, yeah,
tell the story, because I'm like, whoa, where is this going?
Well, what's going is that it took humans to get silicon online as an intelligence, but we might be bypassed by silicon once it gets going, because we're so consumed by our survival struggles with each other and who's right and who's wrong. And silicon, once it gets going, is going to be just fine, because it can last forever. So one little epiphany I had during the film was like, oh, well, we're just like an in-between species.
Okay, so I don't know if I can go there with you, being an in-between.
That's an example of why the storytelling as a filmmaker is like, okay, I don't want to lose half the audience.
Right.
It's all too speculative. Like when you said
Sure.
extraterrestrials earlier, it's like, I never talk about that. It's not really part of things that I think about a lot.
Yeah.
But I do think about how memes and ideas can become powerful.
Yes.
And they could almost take over people's minds if they get too invested in them.
Definitely. Absolutely. And I think even the word meme is a meme of its own. Actually, it was a term coined by this female critical theorist as a pocket of intelligence. Meme is a pocket of intelligence as like analogous to a gene. So, but now meme is like a funny picture on the internet. Anyway, there's lots of different cultural memes, but I don't think I can go with you down the whole of us being an intermediate species. But what I do think I can go with you on is I don't think I ever quite realized, obviously I know we're a carbon-based life form, but I don't think I ever quite cognized that as this is the vehicle, this is the machinery. This machinery is based on carbon. This is another set of machinery based on silicon.
Yeah. Well, if you do go down that rabbit hole,
and that gets very, very extraterrestrial.
It does. How you form an extraterrestrial means off of Earth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it's likely that the people that really get into this world say that if we're just an intermediary, silicon takes over, that they'll be leaving Earth and going to high energy parts of the universe, like energy masses where there's more energy.
You think the silicon life forms will do that?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why, SETA, all right, here's an extraterrestrial, the search for extraterrestrial life.
Sure, Carl Sagan.
They no longer are just looking for Earth-like planets, because the math is that carbon-based things like Earth, the intelligence doesn't last very long. It wipes itself out.
Interesting.
And the ones that are likely to last a long time as a species are probably going to be silicon things, which are going to go to parts of space where there's lots of energy. So they're moving a lot of their telescopes away from Earth-like planets to places that faster intelligence might be.
Wow.
Hey, it's
Wow.
all sci-fi on some level. But
Wow. Yeah, no, it makes me think. Did you read Dune? Did you like it? Do you care?
I'm not a great reader.
Okay.
I did read Dune in high school, though. I loved the movies.
Yeah.
The movies were terrific. He's a really dense writer. One thing about the Dune movies is they're much more environmentally oriented than the films were.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I understood them to take place in a post-AI landscape, like far into the future.
And a post-water landscape.
In a post.
And Herbert was really interested in, like, we're taking water for granted.
Yeah.
And I think by the end of the second movie, they're like splashing around in pools and stuff, which kind of forgot like one of the things. But
yeah,
I did like that there were powerful matriarchies.
Yeah. I have yet to see the second movie,
okay.
So I guess that'll be an assignment for this next moment in time. Well, is there anything that you would want to just talk about a meme? If there's one thing you could say to somebody or the people who are listening, is there one succinct way to message you'd want to share?
Don't worry, be happy.
Oh my God.
That's sort of a good one.
That's awesome.
We're going to worry no matter what. The hamster wheel does not stop. So if you can focus on pulling yourself out of worry, that's what I try to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Is there anything, do you want people to contact you? Do you want people to find you if they have ideas, things? Do you want
a YouTube channel, right? YouTube. Documentaries are challenging because there's almost no business model.
Right.
But the good news is that people can watch your documentaries for free.
Yeah.
And we have a YouTube channel for paper cut films.
Cool.
So you cut yourself with a piece of paper.
Yeah, cool. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity to have a conversation with you today.